you are a lovely crowd. Thank you for being here. I am inspired, and thank you to Barbara for that generous introduction. And thank you to the Policy Circle for the work that you do within community, empowering women, educating, teaching skills necessary to navigate, to inspire, to influence. And thank you to the panelists today who have challenged us, and I have learned a lot as a non-AI person. So thank you for that. I'm a little scared, but a little more curious than I was when I came here, so I want to thank you for that. I'm here to talk with you today about the tools we need to navigate this time of rapid technological change and civic tension with intention. Because we're not just here talking about AI policy, we are here to shape the culture that that policy resides in. But to start, I want to tell you a quick story. A friend of mine and I were at an event. She's an author, she's a leader. And she said something that stuck with me. We were walking to and from events, and someone passed by us, and they complimented me on my shirt. And I said, well, thanks. I got it on sale. I don't know why I said that, but I did. I owned it. And my friend perked up, and she's like, oh, that's interesting, because the story I was telling myself about you is that you spend a lot of money on clothes. I was like, oh, the story I was telling myself. So in that moment, my friend interrupted her own internal narrative. She owned her assumption about me, and then she shared it with me. And it was such a gift, because we all tell ourselves stories about people's motives, their values, their intentions. Our brains crave simplicity for a couple of reasons, and they're valid, right? One is cognitive load, and that's a thing, and you all know this. This is a thing, right? The cognitive load is heavy, and stories help keep us safe or help us feel safe, even if it's a little deceptive. But that same instinct can fuel polarization by making us more susceptible to misinformation and distorted perspectives of other people. The more we interrupt those stories, the more space we create for truth, for complexity, and for real connection. Today's breakout session showed us that the future will be shaped, not just by technology, but how we choose to engage with it. I want to provide a corollary truth that the future will also be shaped by how we choose to engage with each other. And I believe that engaging with people who think differently than we do has the power to save us from the stories we tell ourselves that distort other people. So these stories are being shaped by the very forces that are deepening the divides we now see. The algorithms don't just reflect a polarized society, they exacerbate it significantly. They amplify our differences and feed us a steady stream of content designed to confirm our biases. As social media becomes the dominant gateway for news, we are increasingly immersed in pro-attitudinal content and shielded from other perspectives. And the result, as we all know, hardened identities, ideological echo chambers, and a growing inability to hear one another. And when we stop trying to listen, we start imagining. And that's how we end up with a dangerous distortion, not just of facts, but of each other. Social scientists call something a perception gap. The difference between what people actually believe and what the other side thinks they believe. And I want to tell you an interesting set of statistics about this. 2% of Republicans, less than 2% of Republicans, support political violence. Less than 2% of Democrats support political violence. Yet Republicans think 34% of Democrats support it. And Democrats think 33% of Republicans do. That is not just a gap, that is a canyon of perception differential. Another social scientist calls something a collective illusion. Todd Rose talks about this idea that many Americans are conforming to views they think are popular because they're being voiced by a very loud minority, even though they privately disagree. To avoid social isolation, the true majority is staying silent, and in that silence, a false consensus, a collective illusion, is taking hold. And more people are self-silencing in America than ever before. So both of these dynamics, perception gap, collective illusion, reveal the same truth, that we are not nearly as divided as we think we are. And the only way to break through that illusion is to engage. Now, don't get me wrong, I work for Disagree Better. We believe in disagreement. And there is plenty for us to disagree about. But when we step away from the extremes, we find a more honest and far more humane space for that disagreement, one that is less hostile and more productive. So how do we change the stories we tell ourselves? I'd like to offer a couple quick suggestions, because I know I am what is standing between you and a robot making you a cocktail, all right? So we all have our priorities, so I will be quick. Social scientists I love social scientists, they're my people, so I cite them a lot. They call something affective polarization, and it is still hovering at about record highs, unfortunately, in our country, which is to say that we hate something more than we are for something in America right now. We hate the other side more than we love our own. We are in opposition to something more than we are for something. That is no way to lead. So have conviction. Be for something. Second, interrupt the story like my friend did. When we pause, literally take a breath. We give ourselves, our nervous systems, a chance to calm, and we give ourselves just a couple seconds to think, to choose curiosity over judgment. We can use breath before we reply online too. Complicate the story. Author Amanda Ripley reminds us that high conflict thrives on binary thinking. But when we ask better questions, we complicate the narrative by introducing nuance and specificity. When we reframe our counterparts, both in person and online, from threats to partners, from image bearer to individual, we unlock the possibility of co-creation and connection. And that is the heart of transformative leadership. And it is a posture you as women leaders are uniquely equipped to model because of your strong leadership competencies in emotional intelligence, collaborative problem solving, and moral courage. All three factors help us break through those binaries and foster strong engagements across differences and create innovation. So how do we change the stories we tell ourselves, not just in our own minds, but in our boardrooms, in our communities, in our meetings, in our institutions? We can invite the hard conversations. Invite other perspectives from your team members. Ask, what am I missing before we make this decision? Have we considered all the angles? Make disagreement a sign of strength and not a threat to belonging. Publicly protect the legitimacy of views you disagree with. This is crucial if we're going to preserve our democracy. One HR leader recently told me that complaints in her company are skyrocketing because employees are staying silent in meetings with their teams, not offering alternative viewpoints or perspectives. And then after those meetings are over, they're calling compliance, and they are filing grievances against their colleagues and their bosses, asking for terminations at record levels. And in that silence, in those team meetings, is costing the company a lot in terms of morale, productivity, and trust. So be the leader in the room that invites the conversation, that invites the different perspective, that welcomes it and values it. Second, celebrate leadership when you see it done well, especially in public life. Let them know it matters to you. Let them know you care about it, that you value it as much as any perspective they have on any policy issue. Thank them for the meetings they have with different constituencies, for being measured in a tweet, for not name-calling. Use your social media to amplify and praise conflict done right when you see it. Use your tremendous collective influence to shift the permission structure of politics, because you can. And finally, practice moral courage. Last month, at the end of September, I heard Professor Arthur Brooks speak at Utah Valley University. This was just 2 weeks after Charlie Kirk had been assassinated on that campus. And Professor Brooks called us that day to have greater moral courage, to defend the dignity of those we disagree with, especially in front of our ideological allies. So this means resisting tribal pressure and saying no to a culture of performative outrage. It means choosing human kindness. That same week, the founder of my organization, Disagree Better, Governor Cox of Utah, was on national television on 60 Minutes. He was asked how he would respond to Steve Bannon calling him a national embarrassment. And he said, "I love free speech." I would give my life defending his right to say that about me. That's okay. We can have that debate. So, I didn't mean to get teary, y'all, sorry. Oh, please clap for him, yes. He showed tremendous moral courage. What does moral courage look like in your world? It might not be responding to a verbal attack on national television, and I hope for all your sakes it does not. But what might it look like to defend someone's dignity and the right to their perspective in a board meeting, in a city council meeting, or on a family group text? I want to close by thanking you, not just for being here, but for being part of a movement, a community of people that believe in better. Better communities, better institutions, better relationships, better disagreements. Let us tell ourselves richer and fuller stories, stories informed by people's lived experiences and perspectives, not just our assumptions. Let's interrupt the stories that divide us and replace them with ones that dignify, clarify, and unify. I think it might just save us. Thank you.